What's good, y'all? Shagam Makai. Welcome back to my channel. Make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And if you're new, make sure you subscribe. I'm trying to hit 1,000 subscribers, and every subscriber helps. Over here on this channel, we make daily NBA content. So if you enjoy the NBA as much as I do, please subscribe. And today we're going to be talking about, the Utah Jazz giving giving Rudy Gobert the Supermax and, 5 years, $205 million. That, rounds down to about $41 million a year. And just what I think of the whole, contract situation there, and how do I think this affects, Utah Jazz as a team. So the Utah Jazz last year, they blew a 3-1 lead to the Denver Nuggets, and, it didn't really get a lot of play because the Denver Nuggets went to, come back from a 3-1 lead on the Clippers, but the Utah Jazz did blow that 3-1 lead, and it was kind of, frustrating to see that for Donovan Mitchell, because Rudy Gobert, is an elite defensive player. He has, great rim protection. He's good at, drop schemes. And, he's just great, but he's not on the level of a player like, let's say, Anthony Davis or Bam Adebayo. These guys who can guard 1 through 5. When we saw Rudy Gobert try to defend the perimeter, it went very poorly. There's a lot of, clips on him being burnt, and trying to switch and, go out to the perimeter. So that really slices his value as a defensive player. But make no mistake, he's still an elite defensive big. And, he's a traditional defensive big. Rim protection, that's it. But the biggest question about Rudy Gobert is what he can do offensively, And I'll be the first one to admit that Rudy Gobert is a, rim-running big man. He can set screens, he can roll, and he can throw in some hook shots. He don't really have post moves like that, but, he's a good pick-and-roll big. He's a good rim runner. He can catch alley-oops, He's long. He can, jump kind of high, And that's really about it on Rudy Gobert. He's not a Supermax guy whatsoever. He does not deserve to be in the realm of, the Steph Currys and the James Hardens and, the Westbrooks of the league when it comes to, salary. Because right now, I think annually he's getting paid more than Anthony Davis and Paul George. And that's just insane to me. And I think what a lot of people do not realize about this contract extension, the Utah Jazz had no other choice. That's why the title is this. The Utah Jazz had no other choice. The Utah Jazz literally, had to pay him that money because if Rudy Gobert was not going to accept the max. They tried to offer him the max. They tried to not give him all his money, and he declined the max. So the next best step was to, give him the supermax. That was the next logical step. And the reason they were trapped is because the Utah Jazz are not a free agent destination. So, they can't just be letting players go willy-nilly. They couldn't, allow him to test free agency because somebody was going to give him the money, and that somebody is probably going to be a better team than Utah Jazz. But the reason I say they were forced to is because without Rudy Gobert, the Utah Jazz would not make the playoffs. They would probably be, a lottery team. With Rudy Gobert, they're a lock for the playoffs. I think they can go, anywhere from 4 to the 7th spot in the playoffs. But that's the pain of being, a small market. You really have to overpay guys to even, be any semblance of a, winning team, because the Utah Jazz right now have a pretty good roster. Donovan Mitchell, they got Rudy Gobert, they got Mike Conley, Bojan Bogdanovic, they got Jordan Clarkson, they got Joe Ingles. They got a lot of good. They're a very good top to bottom team. But the issue is that Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert as your two stars going forward, I don't think that's going to result in any championships. And another head scratching thing they did this year, they drafted a center. The last thing they needed was another center. What they needed was another, maybe defensive wing who can score. I know that's a, very broad way to describe somebody, but they're missing that third guy that can, score for them, because Rudy Gobert is not really a scoring threat. And, he's really just like I said earlier, he's really just a pick and roll big. So, for the Utah Jazz's future, this really was a no-brainer for them, because it was either pay him and, make the playoffs and show Donovan Mitchell that you want to win, or don't pay him and lose him to another team and show Donovan Mitchell that, you're fine being a lottery team. So I think in the long run, paying Rudy Gobert kind of locks up Donovan Mitchell, because if they let Rudy Gobert go in the trash, I can see Donovan Mitchell requesting a trade and, wanting out of Utah. But now that, they got them locked up together for the next couple of years, they're guaranteed playoff spots for the next couple of years. And they're going to be a fun regular season team. They're going to be a fun playoff team. Maybe probably a first round exit again this year. But, hopefully Donovan Mitchell can improve and, maybe I would think highly more highly of the Utah Jazz. But the big three of Mike Conley and Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert, we saw what that did. It blew a 3-1 lead. They couldn't beat the Denver Nuggets, and that was just tough. So $41 million annually for Rudy Gobert. That is 1,000% in overpay, and I don't think that he should have gotten that amount of money. But with a franchise like the small market Utah Jazz, they really had no choice. Like I said earlier, I keep saying this, but it was either pay him or lose him. You can't afford to lose a guy as good as Rudy Gobert. Sadly, if you're the Utah Jazz, because nobody's gonna come to Utah free agency. So that's really my whole thing on the whole Utah Jazz. Gordon Hayward. I keep saying Gordon Hayward. The whole Utah Jazz, Rudy Gobert contract signing. And, they're going to be in the playoffs for a lot of years, but I don't think they'll ever break through in the West to win a championship. But we're going to see a couple years down the line, free agency is a thing. Maybe somebody, lowers their standards and goes to Utah, and maybe they get a good draft pick one year and a down year. Maybe they're not, fully healthy one year and they can build upon that. But presently constructed right now, the Utah Jazz are probably looking at a first-round exit, if I'm being honest. And, that's the pain of being a small market team. Like I said earlier, you can't sign free agents, and when you get guys, you kind of have to overpay them to hold on to them, and that's the breaks right there. That's just insane to me. But $41 million annually, that's what Rudy Gobert's salary is, and the Utah Jazz just have to live with it. All right, and if you take the end of this video, thank you. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.